to take the train everywhere, and it's exhausting. I know that everyone doesn't have this problem, but I'm like, I don't know, I'm just pressed up against people the entire ride, just like mushed in between people. I'm surprised no one is in me. I'm pressed up against so many people so hard. And I'm not a big man, so if I get pressed up against two big men, it's not uncommon for my feet to leave the ground. So now I'm just dangling in between two grown men as the train goes. And then they go to get off, and I'm like, sir, please don't do this. I got 3 more stops, please. Like, it's a terrible feeling. I was on the train with one of those ladies that had those baby backpacks. You know what I'm talking about? Where the baby is the backpack? Like, she don't want to look at her kid. Like, the baby hanging in the other direction, you know? In some sort of, like, suspended timeout. Baby could be gone for all she knows. It could be a sack of potatoes. Traded for a baby, and she'd still just keep walking, you know what I mean? So it was just me and the baby pressed up against each other. Nose to nose like this, just mushing heads. And this is a baby. That's a soft head. I should not be mushing my grown skull against this baby, you know? But I'm mushing up against the baby, and I look at the baby, and the baby looks at me. He's like, I don't know. I don't know what you want me to do. I'm a baby. My feet don't touch the ground either. And then the train sped up, and as it sped up, it like shook a little bit, and the baby, I don't know what age of baby this baby was, but he definitely wasn't like hold his own head up age. Like, he was out here. So then the train sped up and the baby went weightless, and for a split second his little foot went in my mouth, right? And like, not like, I didn't close my mouth, I didn't suck on his foot, but still it was a baby foot in the dirty New York air, you know what I mean? And so I'm choking, and as I'm choking, because there's no shoe, but I mean, I'm choking, and I look at the baby, and the baby looks at me, he's like, I don't know what you mean.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and tell a friend. That would be a huge help if you tell people about it. Sharing is great. There's like a share button, but if you tell people, they might click on it.
I'll be honest with y'all though, I've stopped getting mad at white people who just call the cops on black people for no reason. I've stopped getting upset. I've started just retaliating. I just like, now if I see a white person doing anything I don't like or understand, which is none of my business but makes me uncomfortable, I just dial those 3 numbers. You know? I'll just be sitting in the park and just like, yeah, 911. She kissing the dog way too hard. This is absolutely unacceptable. This is all tongue out here. You need to hurry. It doesn't look like the dog into it. Please get here quickly. I'll be at the grocery store. I'll be checking out at the grocery store. And there'll be like a white guy in front of me. But he's not buying any food from the grocery store. He getting those weird non-food items that the grocery store sells. So it'll just be like a belt and a knife. I'm like, yeah, 911, please. He looked like Dama to begin with. Please hurry. I don't like the way his receipt looks. I've started just calling the cops on white people who I think are calling the cops on me. We just have a standoff. I'm like, well, I didn't dial first. She did, okay? Well, send one for her, send one for me, okay? They could just have a standoff. This might be too niche, but did y'all see the drama happening with the people that the movie The Blind Side is based off of? All right, if you don't know the story, I'll bring you up to speed as quickly as possible. Basically, Blind Side is a movie from 2009 where Sandra Bullock won the Oscar for playing the greatest white woman that's ever lived. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it goes Joan of Arc, Amelia Earhart, this lady, okay? And in the movie, she drives up her car to what I can only describe as the biggest black child that's ever been, all right? He is supposed to be in school, but he looked like a 43rd grader. This is the grownest looking kid I've ever seen in my life. She drives up and he's like, huh? But like, his shoulders got bigger when he turned. It was insane. And then she's like, come home with me, which historically, oh. But then he comes home with them, and then they're like, you should play football. And he does, and then he makes it into the NFL because it turns out being big is a huge advantage. But now, Michael Oher, the guy that the movie is based off of, came out and said that he saw no money from the movie based on his life. And what he actually signed when he was a kid, which is when he thought they were adopting him, what he actually signed was conservatorship so that they could get his money. I know, he thought he was getting a Disney movie, and this nigga got Britney Spears. It's absolutely horrible. And what do you do in that situation? Because it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. All the damage has been done. He may never see the money, and it's probably already been spent. You know what I mean? We can't give him his story back. We can't give him back those years he spent trusting them. I think I have a solution, though. All we gotta do is give Michael 2 free tackles. He can use them whenever he wants. I mean, the cost of the medical bills alone will be exactly the money that they stole from him. He's still a huge man. And we won't make a movie, we'll just make 2 TikToks. 1 for each tackle. And then at the end of the TikTok, you'll just be like, blindsided! I'll be brief because I know people are tired of talking about him. But it does feel weird that Trump is this indicted. Like, goddamn. I thought they get him for something. I think they get him for everything. As someone who doesn't like him, I thought I was following the story pretty closely. And every time he gets indicted, I'm like, oh, I didn't even know he did that one. That's crazy. This man has 91 felony charges. That's more than most gangs. That is absolutely insane. Man, they giving Trump the full nigga treatment. This is crazy. That dude must check his hands every day to make sure they're still white. Just like, how is this happening to me? And this most recent one is the wildest, because if you aren't familiar in Fulton County, where Trump was most recently indicted, this is the first place where they said that they want to process him at the jailhouse instead of the courthouse. Because if they do it at the jailhouse, he'll have to do the fingerprint and he'll have to do the mugshot, which is what he's been avoiding this entire time, which is what lets me know that he's not a good businessman. He's not. Yo, if Trump got his mugshot taken and put that mugshot on a shirt, it would be the highest selling shirt of all time, okay? Forget Supreme. This would be the highest selling shirt in the history of people. First of all of his fans would buy it because they'd be like, look, free my dog Trump. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of them would buy it. And then we would also buy it. We'd be like, look at this punk ass on this shirt. Look at this goofy ass on this shirt. Struggling ass on this shirt. He could be printing money, and instead he's, whatever. What a disappointment. He'd make so much money, he'd actually be a billionaire. You know what I mean? I had like a weird memory the other week of this thing happening. I thought I'd share it with you. Like my favorite person to spend time with in the entire world when I was a little kid was my grandma. And everybody knows that was blessed enough to have grandparents. Grandparents, instant daycare. Anytime your parents got to go somewhere, you're chilling with grandparents, right? So, go everywhere my grandma went. We'd always have a good time. You know? And I remember when I was 8, especially my mom was working really hard and everything. And when I was 8, went everywhere that my grandma went, which meant I was going to hella funerals. Oh, my grandmama's squad was falling off. Like it was rough. It was like 2 funerals a week. I was like, how many people do you know? This is crazy. They were dropping like flies. And that was the worst part too, is that when you go to a funeral with some of the same people every time, at a certain point you start to be like, which one of y'all is next? Like, this is getting uncomfortable. I was wearing my little suit out, okay? I remember there was one funeral in particular, one of the more rhythmic funerals that we had been to. Everyone sort of had this unspoken agreement that when we were doing the sort of funeral procession of viewing the body, it was like to the music, you know? You walk up, you get 8 bars to grieve, and then you move on, you know? And I remember it was my turn, which meant it was my grandma's turn. That'd be weird if I had a turn all by myself. That'd be insane. If an 8-year-old kid walks up to a casket by themselves at a funeral, they killed that person, all right? That's just an 8-year-old walking up to be like, just checking. And so I'm about to walk up with my grandma, but as we start walking, we notice that the lady that was still up there hasn't moved. So she's either still thinking or like overcome with emotion. Something's happening, right? So we just keep walking. We don't want to stop mid-aisle, and so we walk up next to her. So now it's this lady that I don't know, my grandma, and me. And I wouldn't look this up until years later because it gave me nightmares for a while, but I didn't really think to Google it yet. Apparently, long after the process has been done for a body to be presented at a funeral, there's still muscles, there's still nerves that can twitch, right? So as the 3 of us are standing there, the woman in the casket went. And even at 8 years old, I was like, hold it together. Hold it together, stay calm. Whatever you do, stay calm. Because look, I've been going to a lot of funerals, right? But even as an 8-year-old that's going to a lot of funerals, I still haven't fully conceptualized the idea of death, but I know what it's like to ruin a party, you know what I mean? So I was like, just calm down and hold together. I'm trying to center myself. And then the woman on the other side of my grandma goes, "Wah!" And for a reason I still don't understand, my grandma turned around to the whole rest of the congregation and was like, she moved. And everybody cleared out. We all walked out together. It took so long to calm everybody down. It took so long to get people to come back inside, sit down, chill out. Because there were people outside that were like, nah, I'm not going back in there. No, ain't no reason to grieve if she risen. I ain't playing with that. Y'all can do what you want, but if she up, she up. All right. In fact, she owed me a little something, so when you get in there, tell her that I want my 15 if this was just like a weekend she was playing Bernie. We get back inside, finally calmed down, finally finishing procession, viewing the body and everything. There was this one woman. I know I saw her, but I caught her because I was sitting second row and I was looking in between 2 people. This woman hesitant, and she was approaching the body, just, you know. And she went, wake up. And even as they were lowering her at the cemetery and they threw the dirt on her, part of me was like, we don't know. We have no idea. I think the other reason that I'm scared of getting older is that like we only really value youth, especially in America. You know, other cultures don't always have this problem, and we don't really value what comes with aging. You know, like the wisdom that you get, or the deep level of empathy, because you've now been alive long enough to make your own mistakes and have deep regrets. And so when someone does something to you, it's easier to forgive them potentially because you know what it's like to make a mistake. All that comes with getting older. All your hard work starts paying off when you get older. Everything you do today will you'll see the fruits of tomorrow, you know? But we still are like, nah, I want to be young. I want to look young. I want to feel young. Act young, whatever. I think the main reason I'm scared of getting older is I finally had a bad fall, and it was like I really felt like an old motherfucker too. It was I went down, like it was terrible. I've been talking all that good shit about Joe Biden this whole time, and then I hit the ground just like him. I was like, because this is the thing, I fought the fall. Like if I had just fallen like a young man, it would have been respectable. I would have tripped, people would understand it, everything. But I fought it all the way down. At one point, I was horizontal, just grabbing stuff like nonstop, to the point where I actually pulled stuff onto me when I landed. People who didn't know me were like, ooh, I fell so hard, I didn't let anybody help me up. I needed a second to gather myself. You know? There's a little bit more show left. I want to thank all y'all for coming out. My name is Josh Johnson. Have a great rest of the night. I appreciate you. What a month, you know? This is a lot has happened. Taylor Swift's album dropped. And OJ died. White women are having a month. This is... Wow, this month is for you specific. The two best things that could happen happened for you. Wow. You think this month was really named after a white woman named April? Like, incredible. Nah, Taylor Swift is breaking so many records. Like, I'm sure she's breaking them now as I'm speaking. She released her album, it hits 300 million streams in the first 12 hours. It's like never happened before, ever. And people are freaking out about reading into the lyrics of every song. There's like scavenger hunts, there's everything. And this is the thing for me with Taylor. A lot of people trash Taylor, and I don't know, I don't get it. If somebody likes something, let them have it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it brings people joy. It's not hurting anybody, except maybe Taylor's exes. Like, it's like... It's hurting nobody. Like, people are having a good time and stuff. If anything, I hope it makes the world a bit more compassionate, you know? There are a lot of people that like Taylor, and the people that don't get it. But I hope that the people that like Taylor will be able to give some grace, because I think that Taylor Swift, she does for her fans what wrestling does for dudes. Do you know what I mean? Like, because if you're not a wrestling fan, you're like, what are they even doing? Why are they moving all stupid? It's just... But if you get it, you're in it. And you're like, you just don't get it. You weren't there, you know? But they're very similar, you know? If you don't like it, you don't get it. And you're like, who likes this? And it turns out the answer to both is millions of people. You know? Same way that there are a lot of little girls and young women out there that want to be Taylor Swift, or older women that see themselves in Taylor Swift. I think every man in here has looked at a wrestler and... Every man in here has watched some wrestling at some point and then walked away like, I wish somebody would f*** with me. Like, I wish... I would just... There are people that listen to Taylor Swift songs and feel it. Like, truly feel, like in their bones, you can tell they feel the song. It speaks to them in a deep way, and they've never been in a relationship at all. Like Taylor's describing her breakup in an exquisite fashion, but then a person who's never been through anything is like, oh my God, yes, yes.
It's just like that time this other totally unrelated thing happened to me, yes. Same thing with wrestling, you know? Wrestling storylines will tear you up. You know? Like when a wrestler turns heel and he turns on all his friends. Guys watch that, we're like, just like Greg. Triple H, he really evil. Oh. I didn't grow up with money. I think it's funny when people make a lot of money and they're known as new money, you know? And people they feel how they feel about it. You know, like a lot of athletes are new money, a lot of entertainers are new money and everything. But nobody ever talks about new poor. We never talk about new poor, and we don't feel bad for new poor. A new money backstory is always inspiring. It's always like, I came from nothing, and I studied hard, and I played football to the best of my ability, and then I got a scholarship to a good school, a scout school. And then I played every day like the scout was there every day. I put my body on the line, and I still studied as hard as possible in case football didn't work out. But you know what? I had a great game in front of a scout. They brought me out. Next thing I know, I'm getting drafted. And now I'm one of the top earners in the NFL. We love a story like that because it felt like all you really needed was to do your best, and you could make something out of that. So we love new money. But nobody ever talks about new poor. Not only do we not talk about new poor, we don't really feel bad for new poor. Yeah, I mean, you ever hear a new poor story where it's like, oh, we've actually, as a family, we were kind of a dynasty. We were rich for 250 years because we owned a lot of farms. Yeah, we owned a lot of farms, and we were big in tobacco, and so as the farming industry lended itself to a more industrial tobacco industry, we profited, and it was my great-great-grandfather that actually sold his shares in the tobacco company, and he had other ventures that he wanted to go into, and he had some sons, but only one of the sons really had kids, and so all the wealth just kept getting consolidated. Less and less people had kids, so then it was all down to Trent. And Trent took some big swings with crypto, and it didn't go as planned. And so that's why Trent is working at this Piggly Wiggly. And why he's not a very good sweeper. He doesn't really understand the broom needs to touch the ground. He just... It is genuinely hilarious watching someone rich try to do a job. It's a little disheartening, but you're also like, look at him go. Oh, I remember my first experience with new poor was a kid in my neighborhood. I didn't always live at the best neighborhoods. I'll put it like that. And there was a kid when I was little that moved in, and you could tell he was new poor. We were playing. I think we were just playing in like this lot, and he walked up to us, and he had just moved in with his parents, and you could tell he was new poor because his name. You could tell he was new poor because his name was Thurston. And I
remember when he said it, and there's a thing with kids where, for whatever reason, and it just is what it is. Sometimes kids take a certain shine to each other, or they don't like each other, or whatever. But we liked him as soon as we met him. We just really did, and he was so earnest. He's a sweet kid, and so we were just like, you can play with us. We don't care. And we didn't even really have a concept of money in that way to look at him sideways, right? We were all just kids. But when he said that his name was Thurston, I was kind of like, ooh. That's the most punchable name I've ever heard in my life. So, look, I tell you what, we gonna call you 30. And if anybody asks why, just say you did something real bad 30 times. And so we used to love hanging out with 30. And 30 was new poor because his family had been rich for a long time. They probably owned a few farms. But 30's dad lost it all in the .com bubble. I don't know. Yeah, I guess if you don't know anything about it, back in the day when the internet was very new, a lot of companies were like adding these online sides to their brick and mortar stores, which was obviously super profitable for some businesses, and for some businesses it didn't matter at all because it was about the infrastructure of being able to send everything. But we didn't know that initially. So there were some companies whose stock price went up just because they had a website. And then it all came crashing down when people started looking for returns on these incredible stock prices. But most of these companies just had like a website with a broken link. And so, you couldn't pull your money out fast enough. And 30's dad didn't pull his money out at all. So they moved in next to us. We take walks and stuff. We like walk around neighborhood once in a while and everything. And there was a dog. There was a dog that was in the yard of one of our neighbors way down the street. And this dog was a big dog, and he had like a big thick collar, and he had a chain that he would wear, and the chain had some length to it, and the chain was around the tree. And 30, he hated it. He hated every time he saw it. It made him sick that there was a dog that was outside chained up against a tree. It didn't matter how much room he had to run around and stuff. He just didn't like the concept. And he'd bring it up. Every time we passed by, he's like, they got that dog chained to the tree like some kind of animal. And I was like, yeah, 30. Crazy stuff. And look, I'm not even saying that is right. I'm just saying it was a very big dog. Like, it was... Like, every time 30 would like protest that he want to go over there, he's like, I just want to like let him free. You should be able to run around. I was like, all right, but okay, listen. At that house, they live with that dog. So they probably know something we don't. Maybe they tried the whole freedom thing out. Maybe they used to have 2 dogs. That's a big ass dog. Maybe I'm not saying you have to love it. I'm not saying it's not wrong. I'm just saying that they may have tried other things. Maybe they tried making him an inside dog. Maybe they used to have more family members. So you see what I'm saying? And there was one day where we were walking down the street together, and he peeled off from us, and he did it without saying anything, because I knew that he knew if he said something, we would try to stop him. But he just started walking over towards that house, and I told him, I was like, hey, I'm pretty sure that's a dog from the Sandlot. So you really don't need to be playing games. Don't go over there, right? And then even as we saw him peel, we were like, 30, where you going? 30, what are you doing? 30. Started saying it slow like it was his real name. 30! Get back over here. And this kid climbed the fence, jumped over, and the dog is like laying down, but he's not asleep, but he's just sort of laying in the grass. And 30 jumped over the fence, ran over to the chain, and the chain had no lock. It was just wrapped. And so 30 pulled it a little bit, released the slack from the end of that chain, and the whole chain just drops to the ground. And now the dog has not been moving. The dog's just sort of laying there. But the dog heard the chain drop, and he felt the slack release on his collar. And the dog turned around and looked at 30, and even the dog was like, "Are you sure?" You must be new poor. And so the dog turns around and he just, I don't know, just, you know, like when an animal is made of muscle? When they just have like phenomenal National Geographic level power. This dog whipped around and just started charging at 30, right? Now 30, in his very sweet mind, he thinks that this dog is bounding towards him for a hug. And so he actually starts to bend down and open his arms. He's just getting a wide stance. Now the dog, because the chain did have a ton of length to it. I want to be clear, this dog wasn't wrapped up against a tree like some Tom and Jerry cartoon. This dog actually was bounding for a while, and he was bounding so fast that like it was either all 4 feet touching the ground or nothing. Like the dog was like this or he was like this. I've never seen a dog float like that. Like the dog is coming at him like a bullet. And from where we were standing, by the way, all of us had been yelling run. We've been yelling run since we saw that the chain had no lock on it. And so then you see 30, just arms open, but even he started to be like, I've never seen this sort of reaction from a young pup before. And the dog is bounding towards him. And as it starts to really get close, 30 immediately just turns around and starts to run. But his wires are so crossed, he's still in the crab stance. So he's like, ah! And he grabs the fence and he climbs up the fence. He climbs up the fence so fast that he doesn't even try to get over the other side. He just slams to the ground on the other side. And he gets up and he dusts himself off. And he walks up to us. And I'm like, I told you that was the dog from the Sandlot. Why would you go over there? It's your new poor ass.
Do you remember from 2017 to 2019 when celebrities would get on Twitter and say some racist shit, and then when they got in trouble, they'll be like, I took an Ambien. Do you remember that? What a fire-ass time on the internet. That was incredible. Because, by the way, just so you know, I don't know, that's not one of the side effects. Like, it's just, it's almost like all the racist people got together and were like, we gonna say it's Ambien, right? Like, I'm gonna say it's Ambien. I just wanna make sure we're all gonna do it. All right, N-word on break. Like, that's wild. But it got me to thinking, like, what if they do a study years from now and it turns out Ambien does make you a little racist? Like, what if medicine can do weird shit to people we don't know? You know what I mean? I'm just saying. That's what happened with Quaaludes. A lot of y'all, you know, we were younger than the Quaalude era, but like Quaaludes basically were prescribed to people and it was like a sleeping pill, but they figured out that if you stay awake for it, it would like mess you up. You get super high if you just stayed awake through the Quaalude. Maybe that's how Ambien works. Maybe Ambien put most people to sleep and they racist in their sleep, but we don't know because they snoring. And then if you could just tweet through it, all the opinions come out. You know, what if we owe Roseanne an apology? She just fought through. Because that's the thing, you see those anesthesia videos, you know, and people come out of anesthesia, they all goofy, and then their friends and family post it. What if we just posted the wholesome ones? What if some people wake up from anesthesia just like, don't trust them, all right?
Thank you for coming out on this exceptionally hot summer. This is genuinely crazy. This is like, this it's bad. It's bad. Like when you walk outside, you don't even appreciate the sunlight. You know what I mean? It's beautiful out and you're like, oh God. This is the type of weather where you're like, Greta was right. We might be doomed. We should have been listening when she was sailing or whatever the first thing she said was. It was really bad. This is the type of weather where it's so hot you start getting weird offers. Like you go outside and there's just somebody standing on the corner like, hey, you give me $1 and I let you sit on my ice. I don't see any ice out here, sir. Trust me, there's ice. There's a bag behind you. Oh, it's also tough because I feel like it changes relationships too, you know? Like it's so hot, somebody could live so close. But the test of love is which one's leaving their apartment. You know what I mean? You know? You'll live next to somebody a 15-minute walk away, but it'll be like, I could die. I can't be doing that just out willy-nilly just for you to see me. We can FaceTime, all right? Like, I feel like even the way people are sexting must be different, you know? You're just texting somebody, middle of the day, like, hey, I got that AC. Oh no, it's not a window unit, babe. We doing central over here. Now come through and get chilly, baby. It's like weirdly still sexual, but it's all cooling related. Like, I got popsicles. If you're feeling freaky, we could both just sit in front of the open fridge door. No, I was in Philly last weekend and it was so hot. It was in the 90s and it was so hot it made me want to be like a scammer. Like I wanted to just start going to like Zillow open houses. Places I have no intention on putting an offer down on. Just to stare to the AC, be like, oh, 2.5 bath, okay. And we actually have a beautiful patio outside. No, I believe you. I can see it. I can see it through the door. I can see it. No, don't do that. Oh. Sometimes someone that you love very, very much, right? Someone you care about deeply comes to you with a problem, and this problem is something like weighing heavily on them, right? It's taking up all their mental space or anything. And you love this person, right? And they come to you and they're telling you their problem. They're trusting you with whatever it is. And while they're telling you their problem, you realize that it's boring.
Don't do that. Don't be good people right now. We've all had somebody come to us, a brother, a sister, an aunt. Someone has come to us, and you, as they're telling you their problem, you're like, I don't give a shit about any of this. Like, why are they even telling me? I can't even help. What are they doing? This is ruining my Saturday. So sometimes someone that you love very, very much, deeply, comes to you with something serious to them that's a real problem, and it's boring. But somehow, overhearing a stranger's problem is always fascinating. I'll give you some examples. So a couple weeks ago, I was on the bus because life ain't going the way you think, right? And so I was on the bus, you know, the people's limousine, right? And I was on the bus and I was holding the rail, and another guy next to me was holding the rail, but he had his phone like this, right? Like tucked into his arm. And he was just like, I don't know what to do. All right? I do not know what to do. She keep fucking dudes off Facebook Marketplace. Yes, yes. I'm in. Tell me all. Because this man's on his phone like, I can't even trust her to go get a lamp. A couple days later, I was also on the bus because once again, life could be better, right? We'll get there, but until then, community Uber, right? And as I got on, I sat down next to this guy. Now, this guy is being louder, out loud, than my AirPods can get in my ear. So I don't even feel like I'm eavesdropping now. He offering this up to the class, okay? And so he's putting his phone down when I sat down next to him, but he was, calls somebody else. And basically, he calls this next person and tells them that the person he just got off the phone with was a woman who he had been hooking up with, who just called him to tell him that she was pregnant and she was keeping the baby, right? And I don't know the best place, but the bus is one of the worst places to find out you're gonna be a father, all right? The bus is top 3 bad places to find out you're gonna be a daddy, okay? It goes jail, the toilet, the bus, right? And so this man is like, talking on the phone, and then he goes, yeah, it's wild because we didn't even have sex this year. And I was like, oh no. He's gonna be a father. And they kept talking and they kept talking. Now, I can't hear the other person on the other side of the line or anything, but I can just hear the like I can just hear, I can hear that noise is happening, right? And so then they must have asked the question that was on my mind, which was, when was the last time y'all slept together? And it was like, yeah, I haven't even seen her, or like, we haven't hooked up since like August of last year. And I was like, uh-oh. He's not about to be a father. Like, oh. Fellas, we gotta start learning at least a little bit about women's bodies. If nothing else, so we can't get fleeced like this. Like, this is... Because this man said, without stuttering, he was like, yeah, she about 10 months along, right? I was like... Oh. And then they kept talking, they realized he actually did get the math wrong, right? The math was wrong. It was 11 months. And I was like, okay, so when do I step in now as a stranger, right? Like, when do I step up and step in to help? Because I've been missed my stop. I missed my stop. I missed my stop at 10 months, right? And so I'm at least 11 minutes that way, right? And so finally, I leaned over to him. I was like, hey, bro, I couldn't help but hear, we all heard. I couldn't help but hear, and I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is you're not about to be a father. The bad news is you should maybe never be a father. Ding! You also overhear wild stuff, like the heat changes people for real. Like there are things people do in the heat that they would not do otherwise. You know, like I was walking my dog, and in the background, like way down the street on the corner, I heard a little kid get into a fight with the ice cream man. Because once again, I'm walking my dog, and just in the distance I hear, nigga, it's a nickel. Even my dog was curious. Like, my dog and I both turned around. And the ice cream man was like, I don't care what it is, you short, little man. And this kid looked up, I don't know how old he was, looked up at the ice cream man, head can't reach the counter, and goes, your dick is short, I want my chocolate. How did we get here? How did these two individuals come together in this moment? Because one, who is this kid? But two, what happens in your life where you become an ice cream man that's really here to nickel and dime these kids? Like, that's really here to like actually buy actual nickels and dimes. Who says to themselves, you know what, I love passing out joy, but you know who needs to be taken down a peg? These children, okay? I'm trying to figure out what type of friend I am. You know, I think I'm a good friend to a certain degree. I feel like if I discover for myself the type of friend that I am, I'll be a better version of that friend to everybody, right? Because I'll know my limits, I'll know what I'm willing to do, what I'm not, and everything. And I'm quickly realizing that I am not the advice friend. Don't come to me. Truly, don't come to me at all, because my advice to you will be directly related to how your problem affects me. I'm trying to let everybody know that now, in case, because you know, you never know. Sometimes you meet someone at the show, y'all become friends in real life, and then maybe they have a problem and they come to me, they're like, Josh, what should I do? I'm telling you right now, I am not objective.
I'm not the one, right? Like, for instance, I have a lot of friends that are getting married this summer into the fall, right? So the big wedding season and everything. And so a couple of my friends have come to me, right? And you just need to know if you're having troubles are normal, right? People get cold feet. People fight a lot leading up to a wedding. The stress, people's families sometimes don't get along. That stress. You know what I mean? Like, all of it is normal. But if you come to me, my advice to you will be directly correlated to if I already bought the gift. Because I had a friend come to me, his wedding was about, 2 weeks out. He was devastated and everything, and he was a good friend, so I had already bought his gift off the registry. It was a Vitamix 3500, so it was, yes. See, exactly, yes. 100%, yes. And so I'd already got that Vitamix, and anytime a relationship seems shaky, I look up the return policy just in case. And this particular model, they didn't carry anymore. So he comes to me, and he's upset and everything, going on, and I'm just looking at the receipt. And so finally, he looking at me to say something. I was like, dog, you love her. Like, see your moon, your stars, all that stuff. Like, everybody cheat, okay? She gonna stop probably, like. I had a different friend come to me, and this friend, the wedding was about like 2 days, like two days out, and my man comes to me, and his problem was very specific, deeply specific. Basically, his fiance and the wedding planner had planned out the whole wedding, pretty much top to bottom. They weren't really asking him for much, but then he was offering up. He was like, is there anything that you need me to do that I can take off your plate? And she was like, no, we got it. And he was like, well, there's got to be something. Like, I want to be involved somehow. And so then she told him that basically they had everything planned down to a T, but he could pick the placemat at the reception, right? Like the little place that, as long as it was in line with the color theme, he could pick that. And so then my buddy poured over for like several days all these like little different, you couldn't even tell the difference between them, all these different placemats and stuff, and was like trying to make a good decision on the right one and everything. And he finally picked one, and basically it seems like maybe she didn't like it. She had the wedding planner change it last minute, and then they didn't really talk about it. So his feelings were kind of hurt because he was like, oh, that was my one thing, and I took some real pride in doing it, and she didn't say anything to me. And it was a destination wedding, and I hadn't bought my ticket yet. I hadn't bought my ticket, and I hadn't got a gift yet. And so he was telling me about it, and I was like, I wouldn't take that if I was you, dog. Like, for real. Sometimes you gotta put your foot down, all right? I've been watching some of the, older people in my life and everything, and it's crazy. My friend, his grandparents were together until his granddad passed away. And his granddad probably passed away at like 85 or something like that. But him and his grandmother got married young. So they were together for like 62 years or something like that. It was crazy. And people always want to know the sort of secrets to staying together and like having that sort of relationship, that bond. And he said that his grandma basically summed it all up very quickly. She was like, if you want to be with somebody for the rest of your life, you have to know and accept that the first year is lust. The next 10 years or love. And everything else after that is spite. And she said spite without missing a beat. Like she's like, that's a secret ingredient. Like every day you wake up and you're like, we go to war. And basically, she tells a story about how the night that his grandpa passed away, they had this routine where his granddad pretty much wouldn't even sleep in the bed anymore. He would sleep in his chair that could recline like his lazy boy, and then he would be falling asleep watching TV or something like that. But on that night, he went to bed with his grandma and he passed away in his sleep, which is how a lot of people want to go. It's very peaceful, you know, next to somebody you love. And then he wasn't there, but his mom was. And his mom said that when she woke up, she was getting ready and like making breakfast and stuff. And she heard his grandma from the room. And what she heard wasn't like some blood curdling scream or some like cry out or anything. She said she just heard, "Oh!" What? Ooh. And she apparently even said at the funeral that, you know, so many people were coming up to her and telling her how sweet it was that he went to make sure he was laying in bed with her the night that he passed instead of like in his chair or something. And she was like, ain't nothing sweet about it. He did that on purpose. He knew. No, he knew he was gonna die that night. And he wanted to put his cold ass feet on me one more time. Because they were cold when he was living, but then they were cold, right? And at a certain point, you get used to the cold, and then you turn around and he all... just laying up there like... And I told him, take out that trash, and he didn't do it. I don't know if y'all saw my man who zoomed into court. All right, in case you didn't see it, basically, because of the pandemic, ever since the pandemic, court, like as in the American justice system, has started to let people zoom into some of their cases depending on what it is, which is very progressive. That's wild to let somebody zoom into court and go ahead and give me a head start if I'm found guilty. That's what it is to me. Like, imagine if I had court and they were like, you can zoom in from home. I'm like, all right. A couple days later, like, Mr. Johnson, we find you guilty. You know, please report to. I'd be like, oh, yeah, I'll be right there. No, but basically, there's a court case where this judge and the lawyers are all in the courtroom, and they let the person that is accused of having a suspended license. They let him zoom into court. And so everybody's there except for him, right? And then he turns his mic and his camera on, and he is driving, all right? It's a suspended license case, but he driving. Suspended license, but he's And not only is he driving, by the way, he really cutting the wheel when he turns. And so he turns his mic and his camera on, and you can see the judge. The judge is like, And even the judge is like, it's a suspended license case, right? And look, I don't know. Thank goodness, have never had to go to court or Zoom court, all right? So I don't know what they have to do or what they don't have to do, but in my mind, like, why turn the camera on, just turn the mic on? But maybe a condition of Zoom court is that you have to turn the camera on too, to make sure you pay attention and everything. Maybe, I don't know. But he turns his camera on, and the judge's like, sir, are you driving? Are you driving right now? And he's like, he couldn't sound happier. My man is like, yes, Your Honor, I'm pulling up right now, right? And I want to be clear, he's not pulling up to court. He's pulling up to the doctor's office, right? Because, you can sometimes run some errands while you're doing Zoom court, because you don't have to be there. Once again, this is very progressive. This is like real step forward. This is mind blow. I wonder who else they let zoom into court. Like, that'd be funny if they let the bailiff zoom in too. Like, the bailiff at home, but he like, stop it. Y'all, cut it out. Cut it out. Don't make me. I will mute everybody in here. I don't care. I'll shut it down. And so the judge is like, are you driving right now? He's like, yes, but I'm pulling up, I'm about to park right now. And then the judge looks at everybody and goes like, wow. It's hard to make a judge say wow. I've never tried it, but I've watched a lot of court on TV, and I can imagine wow isn't said often. I'm sure even the stenographer was sitting there like, and so then he pulls up, and the judge is like, it's a suspended license case, right? And then his lawyer is like, yes, Your Honor. And he's like, but he's driving right now. Like, he in the car, like, we can see him. I saw movement behind him, which means the car was in motion. He wasn't just sitting in a car, which would still not be advisable to your suspended license case. But like, he wasn't saying car, just movement. They were like, yes, Your Honor. And then he was like, oh, okay. And the judge's name in this case is Cedric Simpson, right? So the guy driving is black. The judge is black. This man is black. He had a black judge, and he had a black judge named Cedric Simpson. He had the blackest judge possible. You had the blackest judge in America as a black man, and you are wasting all of it right now. This is Cedric Simpson. And the way my man was staring at the camera, and then judge says, am I missing something here? Because I know the law. I know so much law, I'm a judge. And I don't know what's going on right now. And so then they were like, no, Your Honor, you're correct. He's driving right now. And his lawyer just over here like, I've watched a lot of judging. I've watched Judge Judy. I've watched Judge Joe Brown, Judge Mathis, and never in the history of judging have I seen a black defendant with a black judge that just was looking at him, and you could tell that Cedric just wanted to be like, nigga. What are you doing? And so he's like, so he has a suspended license case, but he's driving right now. He's driving in front of us. It's on the record that he's driving. So, and then in this moment, you can see Corey is the guy that was driving, right? You can see him realize what's happening on camera. So now he's making the face that the judge made, right? Like now he's like, and at one point, because you know how Zoom does, so anyone making noise, it highlights them for a second, right? And so the judge is asking questions like, it's a suspended license case, and he was just driving right now in front of us, and you hear Corey go, And then basically, the Honorable Cedric Simpson was like, I'm gonna need you to drive to jail. But look, there's more to the case. There's actually an incredible amount more to the case, a disappointing amount more to the case. Because basically, this dude spends 2 days in jail, but then it comes to light, I don't know how, probably because of the virality of the clip, that there was actually some form of clerical error way back 2 years ago, so that his license should have never been suspended in the first place. So then he thought he was allowed to drive, right? And so then people come out of the woodwork apologizing, being like, that's so unfair. And then also it was a highlight of local government and how sometimes the government can get things wrong. There's too many people talking to each other. There's too much involved. There's too much paperwork. There's too many wires that can get crossed and everything, because they were like, oh, all you had to do was get this office to speak to this office to reinstate his license, but apparently they never did that, right? So now there was almost like a backlash to the backlash, where people were like, we messed up, we were all laughing at this guy like, what an idiot. Turns out he thought he could drive and everything. So the internet did something it very rarely ever does, ever, for anyone, for any reason. And the internet almost collectively apologized to Corey, right? And it wasn't, obviously to the amount that everyone shared the clip and everyone laughed, but everyone had something to say. Everyone was like, this guy got done dirty and we didn't know enough information. And there was someone else who didn't know enough information, the Honorable Cedric Simpson. There was something about this whole thing that was not sitting right with him, right? And so when Corey showed up for court, for this case, he tells Corey, he's like, I did some digging. I looked at the friend of the court office. I looked at, basically their DMV, looked at municipal offices, took it as far as he could take it, following a paperwork trail, right? As much as possible. And he said, Mr. Harris, who's Corey, you've actually never had a license. Like you never had a I don't know how we got here. You've never had a license. And then Judge Simpson asked him, he's like, where were you? And I can't remember if he said 2022 or 2023, but he was like, where were you December of 2020 or whatever? And he was like, oh, I think I was, still laid up from my accident and everything. He's like, actually, no, you were at the offices getting your state ID renewed, okay? Because you keep getting state IDs and you've never had a license. What are you doing, buddy? You clearly know how to drive. You should just take the test.
And then it turns out from digging deeper into Corey and into his cases and into his problems with traffic stops and everything like that, they found where he had actually admitted, apparently on body cam, to police that pulled him over that he didn't have a license on a totally different time, right? So then he had to report back to jail even though he was out on bond because they found a bench warrant for his arrest from another time he was driving without a license. Corey loved driving without a license. Driving without a license is Corey's bread and butter. He loves, there's just something about driving without a license that's just, it's scrumptious. And I'm not gonna judge because I've been there before in some way. You know, sometimes I do stuff I know I shouldn't do because it's a little bit more fun. You know, sometimes I'll go to a restaurant and I'll ask for a cup of water and I get up to the machine and I hit that lemonade. You know what I mean? The sips just taste better when you know you're not supposed to have them. You know what I mean? Walking up to the foul machine like, this one's on a Wendy's. I got a newfound appreciation for moms this past week. I love my mom. I've always appreciated my mom, but I mean moms as a whole. You know what I mean? Because like the thing is, I was just at like an outing, and my friend who's a new mom. She had to run and do something, and so she asked me to hold her baby. When I tell you this was the heaviest baby I've ever... The baby didn't look heavy because it's little, so you think little means little weight. And the weight, she handed me the baby, and the baby is not helping me at all. Like, the baby doesn't even wrap his little arm around my neck or anything. Just like, the baby trying to be heavy, just doing this. In my arms, I'm like, and I'm fighting to hold this, but I've got him under the armpits, like fighting to hold him up, and I'm trying to do that thing because moms are really good at doing it. You know that little hike y'all do? You know what I'm talking about? Like the baby slipping a little, and you're talking to somebody, but the baby's on your hip, so you do a little hip, 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 and then you kind of. I'm trying to do one of those, but I don't know how to do it. And my whole focus the entire time is do not drop this baby. Do not drop this baby. Your life will be over. The baby's life will be, just do not drop this baby. And so I've got it like this, and I'm just holding it out, but it's slipping because it's trying to slip. It's just like, and it's not wiggling, but it's just like, it wants to be free so bad. And so I'm trying to hike it up real quick. And so I go for like a quick hike up where I was like, I don't want to shake him, but I want to, just pop him up real quick so I can readjust my grip, right? And I also don't want to throw it. Like, I'm not trying to put him up in the air. I'm just trying to get a little bit of distance between him and my hands so I can reposition my hands, right? And so then I try to hike him up, and right at the hike, the baby kicks me. So now he's out. He's not fully out of my hands, but he's at the tips of my fingers. And so I'm like, And now I'm holding him worse. Like now, like he's not upside down, but he's definitely not right side up. Like he's kind of sideways, and this baby is so heavy that my fingers are screaming. Like, I honestly, this is so embarrassing. I'm glad nobody was looking because I was so scared I was gonna drop this baby that I was like, let me just. And so I went ahead and just slowly. Because if I drop the baby slow, it's not dropping the baby. I mean, so I was like, let me get him as close to the ground as I can while I got a grip on him, and then I can readjust from the ground. And honestly, so I put him on the ground, and then I go to pick him up, because in my head I'm like, now I can really cradle him. Now I can scoop the legs and scoop the back and cradle the head and stuff like that. Now I can really stand up with him and hold him like a baby, right? But if I thought the baby was heavy when he was handed,
Trying to pick this baby up from the ground was like Thor's hammer. I don't know what. It's like the baby ate in between me holding him here and putting him down. Because trying to pick this baby up from the ground, I honestly, I had to use my legs. Like, I really had to get in squat position. I finally picked this baby up, and I'm holding him like cradled, right? But now he over here trying to slip out of the edge and be upside down. And then just then his mom walks back over, and I'm holding, he's upside down now. I'm holding his shoulder, and his foot is kicking my chin. And I'm holding his stomach around. And she's like, thank you so much. It's like she didn't even know. She's like, thank you so much. She just writes him up. Walks off, and I was like, what is she made of? That's a 600-pound baby.
Mira.